Welcome, students. Today we'll begin a new chapter, unit number 5 from Beehive, The Snake and the Mirror. It's written by Vaikom Mohammad Bashir, the author. Now, as the name suggests, the snake and the mirror, we can understand that the story might be something related to a snake and a mirror also. Do you like to look at yourself in the mirror? What do you think about at such times when you look at the mirror? But have you ever seen a dog, a cat, or a bird look into a mirror? Possibly not. And if it is looking, what do you think it sees in the mirror? Now, this, from as the name suggests, it is a humorous story, means we can have a good laugh about it. It's a funny story also about a doctor, a snake, and a mirror. Only three things. So we'll begin with the story as the writer himself is narrating the story. And while he is narrating a story, there is another story in it that is narrating about. The writer, Mohammad Bashir, was an Indian writer, and he has written a very simple story having the background of an Indian culture and a simple story. He begins with when he is talking to others that has a snake ever coiled itself around any part of your body? This was his question that he asked. A full-blooded cobra, and not only the normal snake but a full-blooded cobra, which is a very poisonous snake. All of us feel silent, means he's talking to others, maybe his patients or his colleagues are there present and he's narrating it. Everyone was silent. The question came from the homeopath, means he was a homeopathic doctor. The topic came up when he was discussing snakes. Now when he was discussing something about snake, he's talking about this. We listened attentively at the doctor as the doctor continued with his tale. So everybody is listening to what the doctor is saying. Now he begins with, it was a hot summer night, about 10 o'clock. I had my meal at the restaurant and returned to my room. I heard a noise from the above as I opened the door. Now the doctor was a bachelor. He was alone. He was not married. He was living in a small room, not a big house. And after having his dinner outside, when he returned to his room, he heard some noise in his room. I opened the door. The sound was familiar one, but the sound was not something new for him, because he heard that kind of sounds many times in his room. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. He's talking to his friends that there were many rats in my room, so we both shared the room. So many times the rats used to be running here and there in the room, and that made many different kinds of sounds and noise in my room. So it was a familiar one. I knew it. One could say that the rats and I shared the room. I took out my box of matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. Now you can just understand that the doctor was living in a house and the house was not electrified, means there was no electricity connection in his house. So he used to use maybe a kerosene or an oil kerosene lamp on the table. The house was not electrified. It was a small rented room, and it was not his house also. It was rented. So he was living on rent on somebody else's. It was room. I had just set up medical practice and was earning a merge, means very small quantity. Means he was not earning much. A little bit of money he was earning. I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase, and he had a suitcase in which he had 60 rupees along with some shirts and dhotis. We are not talking about a doctor from today's time, but it's a bit of old story. So he used to wear even a dhoti during that time. He didn't have much things with him, only few 60 rupees shirts and dhotis. I also possessed one solitary black coat which I was then wearing, and he was wearing a black colored coat. I took off my black coat, white shirt, and not so white vest and hung them up. So when he entered the room, it was obviously dark, only the kerosene lamp was burning. And when he entered the room, then he removed his coat. I opened two windows in the room. Now there were two windows in the room. He removed the coat and everything. It was an outer room with one wall facing the open yard. So the other side of the house was open. There was a yard in front of the house. It had a tiled roof with long supporting gables. Gables is the upper part of the wall below the sloping roof that rested on the beam over the wall. There was no ceiling. There was a regular traffic of rats to and fro at the beam. So there was a beam in his house, means a kind of a small place where you can keep some household things, and rat used to keep on running in that portion always. I made my bed and pulled it close to the wall. So he made his bed, pulled it close to the wall. I lay down, but I could not sleep. I got up and went out to the veranda. So after hanging down his clothes, making himself comfortable, he went to sleep, but he couldn't sleep. So he went outside the veranda for a little air, means for fresh air. He stood up and he went outside. But the wind god seemed to have taken time off, means there was no wind also outside blowing, and obviously he did not have even fan at home because there was no electricity, so fan was also not needed. I went back to the room and sat down on the chair. I opened the book. So he couldn't sleep. He tried. Again he went inside the room and sat on a chair. I opened the box beneath the table and took out a book. So what did he do? He went outside. He didn't feel comfortable because it was even maybe hot. The wind was not blowing. And so again he came inside. He opened the box, and out of the box he took out a book. The name of the book was Materia Medica, maybe a medical book. I opened it at the table on which stood the lamp and a large mirror. A small comb lay beside the mirror. There were not much things in his room: a table, a chair, a lamp, a small bed, and there was also a mirror. One feels tempted to look into a mirror when it is near one. So what does the writer say? That whenever you get close to a mirror, you get tempted, means you just can't stop. You just want to look at yourself whenever you pass by a mirror, that how beautiful you look. So the same thing happened, which stood the lamp at the large mirror and a small comb. One feels tempted to look into a mirror when it is near one. I took a look. So he is also looking at himself in the mirror. In those days, I was great admirer of beauty, and I believed in making myself look handsome. So he was young and he thought himself to be very, very handsome. So he started looking at himself in the mirror, making myself look handsome. I was unmarried and I was a doctor. Now, two things. When he was looking at himself, he was thinking that I am not an ordinary guy. I am a doctor, and I am unmarried. So it meant a lot to him. I felt I had to make my presence felt, and he thought that I am a very important person. I should make my presence felt by other people. I picked up the comb and ran it through my hair and adjusted the parting so that it looked straight and neat. So during the night, just imagine, he is unable to sleep, he is sitting in front of the mirror, combing his hair and thinking, I am very handsome, and he is adjusting himself and thinking, my hair and adjusted parting, and now he is combing his hair to look more smart during the night. So after combing his hair, he felt better. But during the time when he was combing his hair, I heard that sound from above. Again he heard some sound from the above. I took a close look at my face in the mirror. Now he is looking at himself in the mirror. I made an important decision. During the night when people go to sleep, he is doing all this. He is taking decision, he is thinking he is very handsome, he is combing his hair during the night. Made an important, and he is making a decision now. I would shave daily and grow a thin mustache. So what is he saying? That I will now shave daily, then I will grow a thin mustache to look more handsome. During that time, growing mustache was a sign of handsomeness. So he is saying that I will grow a thin mustache, then I will look more handsome. He is thinking I will shave daily to look smart. I was after all a bachelor and a doctor. Again he is thinking, see, I am a bachelor, means I am unmarried, and I am above that unmarried. I am a doctor also. I am a very important person. I looked into the mirror and smiled. He is looking in the mirror and smiling at himself alone. It was an attractive smile, and he is praising himself by saying, oh, so attractive I look when I smile. I made another earth-shaking decision. During the night, he is making an earth-shaking decision. Means a very big decision. Again he is making something. I looked into the mirror and smiled. And the decision that he is making is, I would always keep that attractive smile on my face. Now he is thinking that, oh, so handsome and so good looking I am. And when I am smiling, I am looking more handsome. So I will keep this smile always on my face, so that people will look at me and they will think that I am, oh, such a handsome guy. To look more handsome, I was after all bachelor and a doctor too on the top of it. Again he is praising himself by saying, oh, and I am bachelor and I am also a doctor, so I will look very handsome if I smile. Again came the noise from above, but during his thoughts, again some sound was distracting him. Again the sound distracted him from the above. I got up, paced up and down the room. Paced means then he stood up and is walking in his room to and fro here and there. Then another lovely thought struck me. Now while he is walking in his room, again he is thinking of something, and he is saying that again a wonderful thought came to my mind. Now what is he thinking? Just imagine. When he heard the sound from the above, he neglected it again, because that sound now up till now 3 to 4 times that sound had distracted him, but he was not thinking about it, or he was not paying any attention to that sound that was coming from the top. Now he is deciding something else. Then another lovely thought struck me. I would get married to a woman doctor who had plenty of money and a good medical practice. Now he is deciding to get married, and he wanted to marry a doctor, a woman doctor, who was even the woman who was a doctor. And that doctor, the woman should have plenty of money and should be a very good medical, practice she should be having, so that she could earn much money. And one more very peculiar decision he is taking, that he is saying that she had to be fat for a valid reason. Now he is thinking that the woman that I am going to marry should not be very slim and good looking, but she should be very fat. Now This was something very different. Why does he think that he wants to get married to a fat woman? There is a reason for it. He is telling that I want to get married to a fat woman having lots of money, and he is telling that I have valid reasons, means I have very appropriate reason for marrying a fat woman. Why? If I made some silly mistakes and needed to run away, she should not be able to run after me and catch me. See, he's planning the out things which are not practical at all in life. He's saying that if I'll marry a fat woman, then I will create any mistake after marriage, and she runs behind me to hit me, and to avoid the beating, I will run away very fast, and she will be very fat, so she won't be able to follow me or run behind me. That was the reason for marrying a fat woman, that is saying that she won't be able to catch me and I will run away whenever I make a mistake. With such thoughts in my mind, I resumed my seat in the chair in front of the table. By thinking, right now he is thinking all these things, and again he goes and sits on the same chair in front of the mirror. I resumed my seat, means again I sat on the same chair. In the chair in front of the table, there were no more sounds from the above, but the sound that was coming from the top had actually stopped. Now there was no sound coming from the above. Suddenly there came a dull thud, as if a rubber tube had fallen to ground. But while he was sitting and thinking, a dull sound like a rubber tube, not a very harsh one, but a dull sound came, as if when you throw a rubber tube and it falls from a height, it makes a dull sound. So that kind of sound he heard in his room. Surely nothing to worry about, but yet he is not paying any attention to it, and he is saying nothing to worry. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. Then too he thought that what kind of sound is that from my room? Let me turn around and look at it. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled, means went round and round over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. And when he was thinking, as he turned around, a snake climbed the chair, and after climbing, it landed on his shoulder. The snake came and sat on the author's shoulder. The snake landed on me and was turning very simultaneously, means at the same time. When the writer turned to look behind, the snake also climbed the chair and climbed his shoulder, and the snake was also turning and looking at him. Both this incident happened at the same time. Now just imagine if this sort of thing happens to us, what would be the condition? So snake sitting on our shoulder, just imagine, during the night, you are alone. I didn't jump, but he was a doctor, so he was a bit intelligent person. So what did he do? As he turned, the snake was just sitting on his shoulder. The writer was obviously a doctor. He was a very practical person, so he knew that what to do and what not to do. So he didn't panic or didn't just started shouting and running here and there. But he didn't move or he didn't jump, he says. He didn't move at all. I was trembling, but inside he was shaking. Trembling means shaking with fear. I didn't cry out. He didn't even shout. There was no time to do any such thing. He says that there was no time because it just came as a surprise to him. He didn't have anything to plan it out, what to do. It was very fast. The incident took place in just mere seconds. And he said that he didn't have anything to think even. The snake slithered along my shoulder and coiled around my left arm above the elbow. So from the shoulder, the snake went down to his arm, his hand, and coiled, means went round and round. Snakes don't have legs, so they cannot just walk straight. They just coil around, means in the circular motion. And where did it coil around? My left arm. The snake coiled around his left arm, above the elbow, just above the elbow. The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 to 4 inches from my face. The hood means the snake, especially the species of cobra, they have their hood formation. Whenever they sit, they make they have those muscles near their head, which they spread, and it becomes into a what we many times make a shape with our palm, and that kind of shape the cobra has, and that kind of shape it took. And he says that it was 3 to 4 inches from my face. And as we know that cobra is a poisonous snake. If we get bitten by a cobra, obviously if we don't get medical treatment, we may die, because it is a very dangerous snake. And it was just 3 to 4 inches away from his face. So you can imagine the seriousness of the situation there. So how dangerous it could be. So he was, the most intelligent thing he did was that he did not move, he did not take any action, otherwise the snake would have bitten him. So he stayed there still. So the snake was yet not under any threat, so the snake also did not attack. It would not be correct to say merely that I sat there holding my breath. See, and what is he saying? That I sat there, even I stopped breathing. I was so much afraid that if I'll breathe, I'll move a bit, then the snake may realize, and it may be possible that the snake may bite him. So he said that I even stopped breathing at that time. I was so much afraid. Hold my breath. He was holding his breath. I was turned to stone. And what did he become? He became just like a stone, means without any movement. But my mind was very active. But his mind was very active. He was thinking, now what should I do next? His body was not moving, but his mind was running very, very fast. The door opened into the darkness. The room was surrounded by darkness. As I told you that there was only a kerosene lamp burning. So the room was very poorly lit. There was no much light in the room. It was surrounded with darkness. In the light of the lamp, I sat there like a stone image in a flesh. And what does he say? That I was sitting like a stone image, but as a flesh, means I was a human being, but human beings have flesh in them. But I was that kind of a person who was just like a stone. I was not moving, I was not making any movements, so that he may distract the snake, or the snake may get irritated or get angry. So I did not move, I just was sitting there like a stone.